We have talked about James Ferguson before. He took photos of a lot of so-called ruins in the 1800s, this time in the Ajanta caves. But in order to understand this, we have to first go to the Baja Buddhist caves, all located in India, 260 miles apart from each other, showing that this is very common to have palace caves in the past, where we can clearly see that the previous civilization was technologically beyond anything that we could ever imagine, and clearly beyond anything that we have ever been told. This advanced group of people that were here before us were not only capable of building palaces situated on the ground, like we have seen with the Cologne Cathedral or the Milan Cathedral, palaces that last forever, built to easily withstand the test of time. The previous civilization was also capable to go into cliffs and carve out palaces within the volcanic rock that extends along a cliff overlooking the Volgograd River. And at this point in time, alarms should be going off for all of us. At this point in time, we should all be able to see that there is something massive wrong with what we've been told by the mainstream history. Just because they call them ruins or ancient, this does not simply dismiss why they are here. We can see that there are 22 entrances to this place where they are called caves now. And we know here that it's very possible we're not being told everything, where the good stuff is normally off limits to the public, where we know that, we've seen that, where we know that a few caves, or in my opinion, entrances, have been either destroyed or hidden by dirt. I've found some incredible stuff here, and I'm not holding any of it back. So let's take a look together. Once you enter this cave, you see centralized in the back is a rock-carved ball placed on top of this platform, and you'll definitely want to remember this for later. And they tell us that this is a relic of resident monks, where their names are engraved on the side. But let's be honest and think logically. Me and you could have just wrote our names on the side of this thing last night, telling us that this dates back 2,200 years ago. And we all know how trustworthy that date is at this point. Not only do we have this one that seems to be the main one, but they have all these other ones in another cave nearby. So they were clearly used for something, where some of them connected to the ceiling. And in my opinion, this part has been destroyed, and was very possible that it was an energy source. Because when we go back to the main one, you can see that that one also had this box on top, which is, in my opinion, no longer connected to the ceiling where it once was. Some sort of old world technology here for sure. Incredible stuff. Someone has clearly come in here and destroyed the tops of these structures. And something has happened here where we live. We all know this by now. A massive mud flood has buried a lot of structures. We know that a lot of the old world is still under our feet. And we also know that there are hidden structures within these hills, especially when we are told in an article on photodharma.net that in 1879, the exact same year that James Ferguson was taking photos of these caves, 260 miles away, in another set of caves in India, which is lining up perfectly for us now, that a very old and most interesting cave was discovered in the Baja Scarp, further east. When first found, the cave was filled nearly to the roof of the veranda with mud and earth, filled with mud. How many more caves are in there that are still filled with this mud? Is this entire mountain one massive temple? Have we just located a massive old world palace that is hidden by mud? And would you be shocked if these were all over the world, just waiting for us to find them? Especially when we find these caves over here and then scroll to the top of, in my opinion, a palace, and we find more openings and a massive waterfall that was clearly man-made. Perfect steps leading all the way up, where we now know that this whole thing is no random mountain. and in my opinion, proves that there has been a massive cover-up in our historical timeline, proving that there was a group of people here before us that had technology that would be unimaginable. Technology that the ones in control today most likely still have. At this point, I can say confidently that in 1895, the power tool was given back to us. That was not the first time the power tool has ever been here. It is officially time for everyone to fully understand that the historical narrative that we are forced fed since day one is not a story for us. It is a story for them. The true story of our past is much, much deeper and holds a hidden past. Now that we know about the Baja Caves, it's time to go northeast and see what James Ferguson located in the exact same year of 1879. I have found more photographs of it. This one being in the database of Princeton University, tagging it as Cave 26. It's time to show the world that these caves are just entrances to an old world palace that is a much larger structure than we can even imagine, and just being hidden by this dirt. And that these structures are not the only ones in the world, and that there is something significant going on here, something strategic, something that was created by the same group, and something that is clearly being hidden from us today. When we have located Cave 26 on Google Earth, and remember that I said to keep this one in mind from earlier, the one from 260 miles away. When we now go to the Ajanta caves and see this exact same structure 260 miles away on an even larger scale, with the box on the top of the ball present, exactly like we saw in the other cave. And when we enter the cave, there are depictions of giant people. What have we found today? Multiple caves, possible entrances to a massive structure that is hidden under the dirt. Multiple structures that are identical to each other, hundreds of miles away. Depictions of giants, depictions of the previous civilization that held this technology to construct this way. And we're just getting started. This is all Cave 26. Let's take a look at the other caves. Let's just start with cave number 2. With artwork crafted into the ceilings and pillars. And remember, our timeline that we have talked about and we have shown so much evidence about with our current civilization really ramping up in the 1800s, we get another nod that this is the case when we are told the origins of these caves, when they were accidentally discovered and brought to Western attention in 1819 by British officer Captain John Smith on a tiger hunting party. Were they tiger hunting, or were they going temple hunting with some tigers showing up along the way? Before 1819, these caves were undiscovered, meaning that their true origins are 100% unknown. And any mainstream historian, any so-called expert, can take a wild guess and make up some story. But we all know that they didn't even know about them until 1819, which is the exact timeline that we have been talking about here. Not the 1400s, not the 1500s. This is incredible, especially when they try and make a story up about them and say that the caves were built in 2 phases. The first starting around the 2nd century BCE, 2,200 years ago. And the second phase, occurring between 400 to 650 CE, where they can make up any date they want, but we all know that in episode 33, they didn't even know who built their building in just the last 150 years in California. Each one of these caves are so interesting. Cave 9 clearly had something removed, where you can see the ceiling has marks all over it from whatever was going on here. I still think it was some sort of energy source. This is blowing my mind just looking at it. And I couldn't just stop there. I had to figure out what was removed. So I dug back into James Ferguson's work, and I knew that something had been removed on every single one of these structures that we have seen so far. And this is when I found his sketch of the interior of Ajanta Cave, number 19, where he shows that there was more to these structures, showing us that we are correct, that something was removed from the top of these structures in all of the other caves, connecting them to the ceilings in every single one of these temples. And this is when I needed to go and see Cave 19. I had to see what was going on in Cave 19 today. And there it is. We have located what was on top of all of these structures. We were 100% correct. We all know that the old world obviously held incredible technology. And now we know what connected every single one of these to the ceiling. And it was removed, and it's been removed since that date that they found it. Remember, we are told that they went tiger hunting and accidentally found these caves, and they were covered by jungle. Can we all see what is still covered by jungle today? Can we all see that the rest of the structure could just be under this brush? How much deeper do these caves go? Are they all connected? This is incredible. And I always love the scaffolding pictures when our civilization just pretends like they're doing some scientific work or some renovation on the old world's construction. Look at our civilization just getting things done. It's remarkable. We really are the most advanced civilization ever. No. So here we have a better shot of this top part of the structure in Cave 19, where the mainstream narrative tells us that this cave was created several centuries later than the others. Are they joking at this point? Yeah, that cave looks a lot like a 400 CE cave. And that one over there looks a lot like a negative 200 cave. All right, good job, guys. Great work. And then we're told that this is just an umbrella. Could you imagine what is hidden in all of these locations where we think that they are just hills or just a random mountain? Clearly, there is more that we need to discover and take a look at. These caves are tucked under this front layer, but the exposed rock clearly looks like it's been melted, even up here at the top. And when you take a look at all of this and look at this place from a further view, a place that just has random palaces inside of it, you can see that there are so many more so-called mountains or hills that could have these caves hiding under the dirt. And I just want to remind you all of episode 45, when we were told that there is a temple 2 feet below the dirt in Cahokia, near St. Louis, where the pyramid in Cahokia, at its base, is larger than the one in Giza, Egypt. We've seen this. So suggesting that there could be more under all this dirt and grass, all of this jungle, as they like to say, is not far-fetched at all. This is definitely a place that I would love to go there and explore. I would love to see if there is more to these so-called caves, or if they'd allow you to go back there, because we've seen so many times where the public's not allowed to go there. And this is when we are told that after hundreds of years surviving a jungle infestation, Ajanta's ancient wonders are being destroyed by visitors' breath. An article from 2022 says that these caves are under serious threat. Not from age, of course, but from the rush of visitors. And we can all see where this is going, can't we? We can all see how they are going to try and block these caves from the general public. And of course, blaming it on the people, where they suggest regulating footfall and higher ticket prices at the main caves so that only serious visitors enter them. You know, the caves that they just found in 1819. And to show you all how incredible this all is, I'm going to close this off by showing you that there are so many caves, just like the 2 that we have seen today, that are exactly like this across India alone. Just 60 miles away, we have the Ellora Caves, where the Ellora Caves will hold its own episode in the near future. The Badami Caves, where yet again, we have this hill that clearly looks like it's somehow been melted on the side and was possibly once a palace. The Canary Caves, where we get yet again the exact same thing that we have seen in multiple caves today. We get the columns to the left and right, and then we get this structure in the center with the top part removed again. This time, just north of Mumbai, 80 miles apart from the Baji caves that we talked about in the beginning of this episode, holding even more depictions of giant humans, or even the Badami cave temples, all located in India. This time, further south, where we get the same sort of thing, where the entire structure looks like it's been melted, besides the entrance. You can even see at the top left, where it seems like part of it right there survived. And in my opinion, it would be more probable that this was one massive structure, rather than people just chiseling this out perfectly, over and over, all over India, with the final result and what we see today just looking like a cave. Take a look at this thing. Does this look like it was chiseled out of the rock, or does it look like it was built and the face of it is simply melted? Let me know in the comments below. And here we have a great photo where the caves are in the background and our civilization's construction is down here at the bottom, to really show off that evolving and advancing thing that they keep telling us about. Evolution, we were told. And another photo where, in my opinion, we have the front of this palace completely melted and almost looks like it was turned into dough and then ultimately hardened, with the inside remaining in its original state. And of course, the Pandavleni caves. Again, all of this is in India, where we have the same exact thing going on here as well, where the entire overall structure is completely destroyed and melted, and just looks like a hill that we are all told is now a cave, where this one holds the exact same thing inside, and this one located 168 miles away from the place that James Ferguson took that photo in 1879. All connected, all built for the same purpose, by possibly the same people, where one thing is for sure: our human history is much deeper than we are told. It clearly holds a hidden past, one that we are exploring in every single episode. A community that is growing faster and faster by the day, with more and more people researching, proving that we are correct and that there was an advanced civilization here, possibly much, much closer to our timeline than we are currently being told. While looking at this map, I noticed Astrakhan right here to the side of the Tartarian Empire. So I began to dig into this name, and what I found fit in perfectly with what we have seen all over the world, where they have now changed its spelling. And a very interesting fact is that the ruins of this medieval, and there's that word again, where we know that medieval is just another name for the previous civilization. This medieval settlement were found by archaeologists 12 kilometers upstream from the modern city today, which is interesting. So what is going on 12 kilometers upstream, where there's obviously a clear attempt to trip us up? Changing locations, changing names. But we have found this location, and we are going to expose it right now, where Zasatarksan was the capital of Astrakhan Khanate by the Astrakhan Tatars. When we click on the capital, the real location that was situated 12 kilometers upstream, we now know that we have found the true location. And then we can begin to find the truth, where they, of course, throw the fire narrative right in there, saying that in 1556, the city burned down by Ivan the Terrible, a ridiculous name and completely made up in my opinion. When we scroll down, we know that they got to this location, hiding something massive from all of us, hiding the past, changing its history forever. When in 1942, during our current timeline, this location was bombed and destroyed, which we've seen this so many times over the first 73, now 74 episodes. We even saw it where they bombed the map in episode 70. This is a clear pattern, a clear exposure of what these wars and what these bombings were most likely used for. All in my opinion, of course, but based on hours and hours of facts, clear manipulation of the mainstream history. Because what would we have found in this location before the bombings would have changed everything, showing us the possible truth. And if we follow the Volga River north, we are going to find the city of Volgograd. So let's zoom in here and see what they have going on where this entire area, in my opinion, is 100% connected to Tartaria and the previous civilization. So right next to this modern arena, I want to show you all something that blew my mind. When you go up these steps and you walk along this path, you will see in the distance a massive statue of a lady holding a sword. And in my personal opinion, this monument, which is now named the Motherland Calls, is from the previous civilization, where its construction photos show a completed statue over and over. We even get a computer-generated photo, in my opinion, of a guy way out there on the hand, just to make it all look believable. It is massive. So here it stands today, and was declared the tallest statue in the world, standing at 279 feet, and also standing on top of a pyramid that is clearly covered by grass at this point. Misdirection, a magic trick, where they completely caused chaos in these years. Such a financial crisis, stock market crashes or wars, total chaos all over the world. And while this is all taking place, they remove structures or slide a new narrative right in. I will go into more detail about this in the future when we go into New York City. Thinking logically, let's read this together. The construction of the monument was supposedly completed in 1967. Why would they then, just 5 years later, need to do restoration work on the monument in 1972, when the sword was replaced by another entirely, consisting of stainless steel? In your opinion, do you think that this might have been destruction of the original monument? I personally believe so. What was on the original sword that was only there for 5 years? What was on that sword that we were not supposed to see? And you can see that these are not construction photos of the whole structure itself. These are the photos from them changing that sword. It's just incredible how the narrative is consistently manipulated in every single part of the world. Now, take a look at these stairs leading up to this thing, with the walls looking completely deformed and melted. And we've seen the melting in India. And you got other statues surrounding this place. Just a very interesting area. And I would love to know what is under that grass in the pyramid, below the statue itself. And we're just getting started. Check out this city. There are a lot more on the way today, including a city that is just north of this location, that holds a narrative that will expose something massive to the whole world today. So up here on the top right, we have the Motherland Calls. And to show how incredible this area really is, down here at the bottom, I'll zoom in on it, we have the Alexander Nevsky Cathedral, where you can see that the outside is incredible and the inside is extremely detailed. All constructed in the 1800s, we are told. And not only that, but we are also told that it only took them 3 years from start to finish, when we have seen in Edinburgh, Scotland, that it took them 6 years to make a little statue, just to give this awesome perspective. And again, renaming cities in 1925, changing the city's name to Stalingrad, and just understanding that the world that we are all in right now is so much more incredible than we are told, with the true history, in my opinion, being that a very powerful, extremely advanced group of people lived here where we are today, constructing massive palaces, leaving all of their work behind, and leaving it behind for all of us to see. With these wars and destruction taking place all in the 18 and 1900s, destroying most of it, to hide this incredible civilization from us, and rewriting the history worldwide, holding the exact same nods, the exact same clues of the game in every single country, all pulling the strings and working together. Is it possible it's all for confusion and misdirection, all for their benefit, trapping our minds for so long? And during World War II, Axis forces attacked the city, leading to the Battle of Stalingrad, arguably the largest and bloodiest battle in the history of warfare for our current civilization. Total and complete destruction of the previous civilization's work, and total chaos for all of our civilization's families at that point. stopping at nothing and going to the darkest of options, all to gain control. And they do this, where they attack these cities, they destroyed these people's lives, and then twist it back onto us and say that we are all heroes, when we didn't even have a say in the matter. We never did. We never even decided if we wanted the largest, bloodiest battle to ever take place. A battle that had casualties estimating between 1.25 million people and 2.5 million people in 1942. The city suffered heavy aerial bombardment that reduced most of the city to rubble, where the buildings of the past were shredded to pieces, where someone that's closing their eyes could see that they look identical to the Great Fires in all of these cities, where I think we can confidently say at this point that they do not look like fires at all. They look like they were attacked with bombs, and the casualty counts of 0 people in so many cities around the world in the 1800s Great Fires, such as the Baltimore Great Fire. I had to add this in after completing this episode because it needed to be shared. On February 3rd, 2024, we released episode 59, The Great Fires Hold Flaws. Episode 59 is on Rumble. If you want to see it in the full, unedited version, released on February 3rd, 2024, as you can see right here. And just 4 days later, on February 7th, 2024, the Baltimore Magazine puts out an article changing the narrative of the Baltimore Great Fire, where the original narrative told us that the Great Baltimore Fire caused no deaths. And 4 days later, after our episode comes out, now 1 person in the blaze, with 4 more succumbing later to fire-related causes. Now tell me what you think about this in the comments below. Now let's get back to the episode. The Toronto Great Fire, the Galveston Great Fire, and on are, in my opinion, the narrative just giving us the middle finger and getting the bombing campaign and 5 months of fighting that followed destroyed 99% of the previous civilization's work, of the population that knew the truth. Of more than 500,000 people, before the battle, only 1,515 people remained. And we know here that those 1,500 people were most likely sent to the local asylum, the insane asylum. The operation, the game that is played, using us as the players, is beyond clear at this point. We've gone over this multiple times, covering the insane asylums as well as the orphan asylums. You can check episode 52 out if you're interested in that. The Germans called this city hell on earth. And in order to find answers, we have to ask questions and be open-minded. With War Under the Ground, where we have shown with our tunnel episodes, our catacomb episodes, that there is just so much more going on under the ground than we can see. We fully understand at this point when they go on to say, yes, they fought at Stalingrad and underground dungeons, destruction of the previous civilization's underground work, telling us that there is at least 150 kilometers of tunnels underground with stable stone arches with the width of 2 horse-drawn carts. Massive tunnels. This is all quotes from the former German soldiers and officers that survived the Battle of Stalingrad. Hell on earth. Going on and closing his statement, saying the older the tunnels, the better they are made, giving us first-hand accounts where we are fully understanding that this is the truth, that the previous civilization was here, and a group wanted to destroy it in every single city around the world, and ripping this civilization out of our narrative. Understanding that anyone from our civilization, our timeline, that was here, that knew about the true past, were fully wiped out worldwide. And this is admitted. It is confirmed, and also confirmed, is that many catacombs exist in this location today, where they are now filled with poison gas mustard, which is a grave danger to humans. keeping us away. And to take this a step further, mass destruction to the previous civilization and millions of casualties, possibly in so many cities around the world that we are not being told about through false statistics. What kind of group could do this? A group that loves us or a group that hates us? It is interesting that one of the German soldiers then ironically wrote in his diary that he had the impression that the command would like to get to hell and to call on the help of demons. Where if you've done this research for a while, we know that this is all still most likely going on today. That likes to put the destroyer out front in their yard because that's just a nice addition to the place. Just a nice gift. And they just name their dances the dance of destruction. And this is all very normal stuff. Any of us would have done it? No. And did any of us agree that we all want them smashing particles together? Because I must have missed that meeting. Switching back to the 1943 veteran, a group that we are told in his diary that wants to get the help of demons, a group that performed mass murder through bombings, calling it wars, and total destruction of the past, destruction of the buildings that were always meant for us. It's very interesting. A group that seems like they might be in a little season. So we'll get into that soon. If you've been following me closely on X, you will know what's on the way. And to show that they take this seriously, much more seriously than most of us ever realized. Until recently, the same country digging the deepest hole in the world, the Kola Super Deep Borehole, shutting the project down in 1995, where the hole goes down 40,230 feet, or 7.6 miles, where they tell us it was to address key scientific questions that could give answers to some of science's biggest mysteries, where we know from first-hand accounts that these people were giving off the impression that they were trying to get the help of demons in 1943. And 11 years later, they start smashing particles together, trying to find the God particle, which they say they finally discovered on July 4th, 2012, which was right at the buzzer. Well, 1954, this starts. 4 years later, this group, with the help of this guy, where we know that he wasn't a part of the group of love, then 12 years later, they start digging and trying to get to hell. And remember, this is the exact years that we have discussed so many times with every episode, making this whole picture clearer and clearer. So switching gears, we are going to travel to Ethiopia and check out this monolithic church, now being called the Abunia Matica, and it's not your everyday church. This one is situated at a height of 8,460 feet and has to be climbed on foot to reach, where it is notable for its dome and wall paintings, dating back 1,600 years, supposedly. Again, making up any date they'd like, where this one is according to the local legend, where they just went over and asked the guy working at the local Walmart. This was his take on it. No, I'm kidding, of course, but shows that a local legend is not factual evidence. This is where it's located, and I want to remind you all, and we've seen so many times, just like in the Indian caves, where these may just be entrances to a melted overall structure. This could have easily been a massive palace, where nobody was climbing 8,460 feet in the air, traversing steep sandstone pinnacles and sharp sheer drops, just to enter it. A much better option for a church 1,600 years ago would have been on the ground. So saying that this entire thing is one massive structure would explain this much better, in my opinion, than believing that someone decided to build a church thousands of feet in the air during a time period where humans supposedly had nothing. I personally believe that if we were to remove the front layer of this thing, what we all can see, you would find more to the structure. I believe that you really would find a massive old world palace inside. And again, if this is the case, that this is one massive old world palace, how many more of these structures that we think are cliffs or massive rocks, how many more are actually palaces with rooms inside, just like they found in episode 73 in 1819 by accident, where the true history of this place is a total mystery. They start off by telling us that it was built in the honor of one of the 9 saints of the Ethiopian church, carved by Father Yameta 1,600 years ago. All documented in the local library? No. Where it is, of course, not known. Why he chose such a remote location? They guess it's because he was evading enemies and capture, while others claim Yameta just wanted some peace and quiet, seeking solitude and isolation from the world, where the true history will forever be a mystery, except for the part where they definitely know exactly what happened 1,600 years ago, in the middle of nowhere, 8,460 feet in the air. Was this just a normal occurrence 1,600 years ago? Just climbing up 8,500 feet to make a church, all just to get some privacy? Was it possible that Donkeys Incorporated was keeping them up at night? I think 1,000 feet in the air would have worked. What do you think? So why go up 8,500 feet in the air to do this? This is ridiculous. According to all of these sources, including the Greek reporter, this is the world's most inaccessible church. When I believe that just like the Indian caves, these are just openings to a much larger structure, where we were going to end the episode right there, until I saw something massive pop up on my screen. Again, this church, located on a cliff, is located in Ethiopia, just 200 miles south, all in Ethiopia. We have the House of the Cross, a rock church that we are told is an Orthodox underground monolith church carved into rock. There are 2 churches belonging together, all served with one entrance, holding a rarely seen chapel at the western side. It can be accessed through the tomb of Adam. They can also access this location through a tunnel at the southern end of the courthouse. This location is named after the area where Jesus was buried, where it is believed to be the most important and holiest shrine in all of the churches in Lillibella. Now, was all of this carved into rock, like they say? Or was this one solid structure that now looks like a rock? I believe, in my opinion, this was a massive structure and has now turned into this formation. Between 2005 and 2009, the University of Cape Cod did over 1,200 laser scannings and acquired a 3D model of this entire place. They were able to find that this place was so much bigger underground, which in my opinion proves that we are correct, showing that this place was situated on ground level. These were not tunnels. And now, after an event took place worldwide, which we have seen countless times throughout our first 73 episodes, this event burying a lot of the previous civilization's work. Does this structure, the Bet Georgius, look like something that was covered by mud? Does it not resemble exactly what we've seen in India? When the mainstream tells us that these are carved into the rock, are we beginning to get closer to our true history? Are we beginning to see that the previous civilization's work, a lot of it, is not only in palaces that we can go and see, but also right below our feet, possibly in every single city in the world, possibly right below your feet right now?